What's up, my pal? It's angryponcho here. This episode is going to be pretty laid back. I'd like to make a variety of creatures for you here, and because people were saying in the comments that I hadn't demonstrated the great variety of combinations that you could make in impossible creatures, because you do have I don't know how many creatures there are, but it would be that many numbers. Like if there were 100 creatures, the number of combinations would be 100 squared, so it would be a lot. And honestly, I'm not sure exactly how many there are. I guess I could kind of get an estimate here. So it's like, let's see. It's like 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, 50. Something like 50 or 55 squared, which is like going to be like several, like 2,000 or so, I'd say. Is that right? 50 squared? That would be 25 with 2 zeros. So yeah, it's over 2,000. So it's quite a number of creatures, combinations you can make. And people were saying I hadn't explored all the combinations. Well, there's a whole lot of different kinds of creatures you can make. And it's all about what do you want? What do you want your creature to be? When you're creating a new creature, the first thing that you have to have in mind, does it sound like I'm talking like a certain YouTube pair? I'm going to give you this as a hint. During this video, I will certainly, auditorially, I will be emulating a certain pair of very famous YouTubers, and throughout the episode, I'll give you hints as to who it is I think I sound like, because this is just something I do. When I listen to a channel for too long, I start talking like them. And it's the same thing I do when I watch a movie or a television show for too long. I start talking like whoever talks the most. Usually it's the protagonist, but you'll see. Alright, so basically the first thing you have to do when you're trying to create a new creature is, what do you want them to be? So I guess the first thing I'm going to say is, let's start from level 1 and we'll kind of count up from there. So let's say level 1. So we're going to sort. You can sort by any of these categories. I don't know if I ever actually... When I LP, I don't talk about the interface very much. I mostly talk about how the gameplay feels. Here, I'm going to talk about the interface a little bit, because when you sort by like level, research level here, it's pretty useful, because you see I get the level 1 creatures first, and as I scroll down, I get 2, 3, 4, and 5. So as you can see, most creatures are about at level 3. There's a whole big piece in the middle here that's level 3. And there aren't but like 5 or 6 creatures, maybe just 5, that are level 5 from the start. And there aren't very many that are level 1 either. I think it's like 7. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, 7 creatures, I was right. That are level 1. So if you're going to make a level 1 creature, it's good to start with one of these. So as I say, the first thing you want to do is figure out what do you want it to be. So what I'm looking for right now, just as an example, I'm going to build an army for you guys in this episode. And the first thing I want is a level 1 creature that's very cheap. I want it to be inexpensive in terms of coal and electricity. I want it to be level 1, and I want it to be able to do some kind of scouting. So that means, it needs to either have digging, camouflage, or a really good sight radius, because I want to be able to send it to the enemy base and see what's going on. So I think a good way to start is with the ant, because the ant has the ability to dig underground, and it's a level 1 creature. So with digging, you can send a creature to the enemy base, have them dig along the way, and have them sort of emerge from underground once you arrive. So let's see, what do we want to combine with this? You can combine it with pretty much anything that's level 1, and you're almost guaranteed to get a level 1 creature. So I'm going to go with, let's go with the rat, shall we? This is a good combination of creatures here. See, I'm going to mix the leg attack and the bite here. I'm not even looking at the interface up here at the top yet. That's secondary. The first thing you want to look at is the abilities and the attacks. They separate it out down for you very nicely down here, so you know what you're looking for. So you have bite, you have leg attack, that's all good. If I go for plague, it's a level 1, that's good. So I'm thinking, okay, 7, that's alright. But look, it costs 50 more electricity to take the plague, so I'm going to go for the bite. So 68 coal, 25 electricity, very cheap. Essentially, that costs less than a henchman. So you see, it's at 10 melee, costs less than a henchman, but of course it has very little health. And it is a level 1 creature, so it's very cheap. So leaving these two things intact, so leaving the head and the front legs intact, I'm going to switch the rest around and see what I can get here. So let's see, I could give it a little more health, that would be good. I'm going to give it as much health as I can, really. So this creature, it looks like it's going to be mostly ant with a rat's tail. And that just keeps it cheap. So the whole goal of this creature is, it has the digging ability, so it can dig underground, go to an enemy base, and pop up and look around. And that is essentially its entire purpose in the game. I will never use this to fight another creature. So 30 health is just whatever. It doesn't even matter. And honestly, you could edit this, and you could give it the plague, but it's just a cost of whether you want it to be costly in electricity or in coal. And I find that most of the times when I play, I have more coal than electricity in the very early game. As the game progresses, I tend to have more electricity than I need, so I keep that in mind as I build. Alright, so we have our level 1 scout. Now what we're looking for is a level 2 creature. And the goal here is that when you're playing multiplayer, or you're playing against another person, or you're playing against a really good AI component even, you have to be prepared, because I always play as the turtle. I typically don't rush. So this army I'm building will not be a very good rushing army, although I could show you that. Now that I come to think of it, I will show you that. You want to make a creature that can stand up to the rush. And so you want to build something that has a decent melee attack that can defend the house. You know, sort of like, this is our house, blah, 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 whatever. So I'm going to look for a decent melee attack, but I want it to also be a very cheap creature. So I'm going to sort by melee damage. And then I'm going to scroll down until I start seeing, like, I'm not even looking at what they are. I'm going to look and see until I see, like, a level 2 creature. So a hammerhead shark, that's pretty good. But anything I build with that is probably going to require a water chamber, so I'm just going to keep going. Ant. That's another good one, I guess. That's alright, we'll just go past it. Where do we have the ant? Hyena. Probably a good choice. So I'm going to keep the same sorting. We're going to scroll past the hyena. What else can I make? I got a wolf. That would be neat. That would be nice. But you know what I like? I like a really good melee attack. So something like the lobster will be good, because it has that barrier destroy, and those pincers tend to give it a pretty decent melee attack. Well, as you can see here, I've made a creature that's far too sophisticated. It's just too good. It's level 4, and I don't want that. So I'm gonna make something that I know works, which is I'm gonna go for scorpion. I'm gonna make it everything. Yeah. So you see, I'm just gonna keep the scorpion pincers. But let's give it something decent. So let's give it like, well, let's see. Actually, I'm gonna skip this. I'm gonna save it for level 3. I'm gonna make a good chameleon creature for level 2. So here's a decent one. So you want a level 2 creature that can defend the house. Melee creatures are okay for this. Ranged creatures are even better, because you want your ranged creatures to be able to stay where they are and hold their position and defend against the enemy. So what I'm looking for here is, you could go for this or that, or whatever you like. If you want the barrier destroyer, the better melee. So you could use, this is actually a pretty decent creature for level 2. It's got quite a small amount of health, so I might switch this out for something else. Give it like a zebra or something. Just give it a little bit more hardy. See, 81, that's pretty good. It doesn't need camouflage. It's not going to try and hide. It's just going to use tongue attack. So here we go. That's a pretty decent one, actually. Camibra. I'm not going to try and pronounce these. So there's your Camibra. That's going to kind of hold the house down, keep yourself safe, and having a creature with regeneration very early in the game is good, because as you're defending against an enemy who's rushing you, once you fend them off, any creatures that you still have living will be able to regenerate their health, and they'll be able to stand up to that assault. Now let's say, hypothetically, you're interested in winning by rushing, and you want to send a heavy level 2 rush. We'll sort by Richard's level first off. And I want to make a creature that has a decent melee damage and can get over there in time. So I'm thinking something like Cheetah's pretty good. It's only level 2. It's a little bit fragile, but it's only level 2, and it's very, very fast. So we're going to mix the Cheetah with something to make a nice attacking creature. So Plague would be nice to have. So I'm going to go with the Rat's Head and the Cheetah's Claws, and pretty much everything else Cheetah. So you can see, Cheat Rat. This is actually a creature I've made before. The Plague is good because you can see it passes on a damaging plague when it attacks in close combat. The plague spreads to any nearby enemy creatures, and the carrier is immune. Here's your next hint for who I think I sound like. They do a morning show together. So the attack is most effective when against masses of small, weak units. The enemy is going to have, if they have any creatures, they're going to have small, weak units if you arrive after a rush. So this cheat rat is exactly what you want. Now it's a little bit expensive in electricity as far as rushing is concerned, so you're going to need to get a couple lightning rods put down before you can produce these. But in terms of coal, it's about the same as a henchman. It's not too bad. So there's your cheat rat. Oh, it already exists. Yeah, I've already made a cheat rat, so I'm just going to make that a lowercase t. Oh, I can't do that? Alright, I'm going to call it a cheatra then. Yeah, I made that same creature before, so the game is complaining at me. Alright, so now that we've made that, we're going to make a level 3 creature to defend the house a little later in the game. So I'm still building an army whose intent is to sort of hold the line and keep our base safe while we're building up and getting to level 4 or 5. Because really, it's at level 4 or 5 where the really good creatures start becoming available. Here's what I want to do. I want to make a creature that takes advantage of several things that you can do with melee attacks. There's quite a number of things here, and I think this creature is a great example of combining abilities. So just to start with, let me get it put together first. So I want that. I want that. Let's see. I don't want that. I want level 3. There we go. I'm going to leave it there. So this is the combination I'll take between the ram and the scorpion. And here's the reasoning. So I got the gore and the pincers, so I've maximized the melee damage at 17. And then look at the abilities. So as a melee creature, it does very well. Firstly, it has hurting. That is the ultimate defend the house kind of ability. When you have 4 or 5 of these put together, I think it's actually, at least 3 put together, you get a bonus to defense. And so when you have them sitting around your lab, they're going to keep it safe because they're going to protect each other through this ability. And then beyond that, on the offensive side of things, you have the charge attack. They charge into combat, that's coming from the ram. And then you have poison, barrier destroy, and best of all, horns. The best thing about horns is that it reduces the target creature's defense when they get into melee combat. And this is crucial later in the game. If your big-time melee creature for late game doesn't have horns, it better have a whole lot of melee damage. Because horns is cutting the enemy's defense very well, and that's going to give you an in to attack them. So this is a creature I actually like to use. I like to have this around for level 3, because this is about the time that you get hit by the late rush. And when you put out 4 or 5 of these, they'll hold the line very effectively, especially if you research and increase their melee damage and health. That's the kind of thing you want for the kind of creature that defends the house, defends your lab. So I'm going to leave that Ram Opry in the way it is. And now I'm going to build for you probably my favorite creature. I don't know how this came to be. This was through experimentation, to be honest, that I found this creature, and I really enjoy using it because it combines so many good attributes about creatures. Alrighty then, sorry about that. I had to step away for just a moment. So this creature is one that I really like, and it's just through experimentation, sort of like a genetic algorithm kind of thing, that I came upon this combination that I really enjoyed. And the reason I like it is because it's very effective at what it does. This is a close combat melee creature, and you'll be surprised to find it doesn't have horns. It does have leap attack, which is nice. But the real reason I like it is that it's a crocodile hybrid. And the crocodile is bringing both the bite and the tail swipe. So it's 17 damage just from the crocodile, plus 6 from the claws of the panther. Now the real thing that makes this Croc Anther a killer is the speed. 33 speed. The panther is the second fastest ground. Actually, I think it's the second fastest creature overall without any expansions and packs installed. And it's the second fastest creature on the land. It's second after the cheetah. So it's cheetah and then panther, and I think a hornet is third. So when you have the panther, it's got a lot of speed. The crocodile has a lot of melee power, and it's under 300 coal, only 30 electricity. It is a relatively cheap creature, and once you research to add the health to it, and the melee damage and the speed, it becomes unstoppable. The Croc Anther is awesome. Now, it is a level 4 amphibious creature, and so you have to invest in order to get to the point where you can use it. But I find that if you can get to the point where you can afford to build 5 of these, you're going to win. You're set, because they will kick some butt. 25 melee damage, 33 speed, over 200 health, less than 300 coal. It's already existing. I'm going to call it a Croc Anther, even though I usually call it a Croc Anther. because, like I say, it already exists. So I'm going to build one other creature that I really enjoy here just from memory. And this is one I think I built in the previous video. It's the eel and bull combination. The bull eel, I think is what it ends up being called. Yeah, bull eel. So it's essentially just a bull with an eel's head. And it's up to you whether you want it to have swimming or not. It doesn't swim very fast, and it just makes it cost more electricity. So typically I'll just... Because the Croc Anther can swim, and because the bull eel and Croc Anther make such a dynamic, effective duo, I will tend to give the bull eel the ability to swim. But it's certainly not something that it needs to have. So I'm going to throw down the bull eel as well. So just give you one more look at this. So it has 15 on its lightning attack, which is pretty good. And then it's got 200 health, less than 300 coal. Very nice. So it also has swimming and a decent speed. It's going to do very well. So now, as you might notice here, we have 3 slots left here. And you don't have to fill up your army. I'm going to build one more creature that I really like. And it's going to be a quick one. Let me get the Hornet out. Yeah, it's actually the Raven, which you cannot get in the single player. And then the Hornet. It's very fast. I'm going to take the Hornet, and I'm also going to take the Elephant. Because the Elephant is one of those few creatures that's already at level 5 as soon as you get it. So you know you're getting a level 5 creature. So I'm going to put... Actually, I think I can do better than Hornet. I'm going to go for the Dragonfly. We'll see what we can get. Yeah, here we go. Check this out. So I'm going to take the Dragonfly and the Elephant, mix them together. So let's see what we can do. Let me just maximize damage here. So I want Super Attack and Gore. Which of these do I want? I want that. I want that. And this doesn't matter. Alright, cool. So this is the Dragonophant, whatever you want to call it. That's just a Dragonfly and an Elephant. This is a kick-ass flying creature. Now, having the charge attack is just silly. You're going to probably comment and be like, charge attack on a flying creature? You can't even use that. It says right there in the description, flying and ranged units cannot use this ability. It doesn't matter. Giving it that makes it cost 50 more coal, but it gives it 88 more health. Totally worth it. Now, the big things to note here. 25 speed, it's very capable. 400 health, very durable. 38 melee damage, very strong. 425 coal cost. A bit expensive. Now, not as expensive as my $800 big boy, but 425 is still a relatively expensive creature. But for a level 5 flyer, if you've reached level 5, sorry, I'm trying to say fly and 5. If you've reached level 5 and you've built a flying chamber, you've already invested quite a bit of coal, so it's likely you have a good economy going, and you can probably afford this creature. So if you're looking for a late game, big time rush with flying creatures, or not even a rush, but a big time offensive assault with flying creatures, the Dragonophant will not disappoint. And if you upgrade the health, the speed, and the melee damage of this creature, it's nigh unstoppable. Nigh unstoppable. And then, of course, I have to show you the big boy. I've already shown this one, so I feel a little bad showing it again here. But it is a creature that I so enjoy. I should point out, if you give it all Wolverine, it takes 30 on the melee damage. And if you switch that over to the head, you get the sonic attack as well, without losing anything, because the bite is just as good. So this is the big boy. I want to call it a Wolverine because I already have a big boy schematic. A very expensive creature, 800 coal, 170 electricity, but the health is immense. It's a bit slow, and it has awesome melee damage, pretty decent sonic attack. Honestly, the Bulliel does 15 damage on the sonic attack, or on the ranged attack, so the sonic is not the big pull here, it's the health. You're getting a huge amount of health, and if you upgrade this, an extra 20% on 1440 is just awesome. You get up to like 1700 or something like that. And so, I think at this point, I leave the final slot up to you, viewer. There's a lot. I'm not saying leave a comment, which you could do. I mean, go ahead, leave a comment telling me what creature combination you think would be effective, and what like level and sort of dynamic you want it to have. But what I'm going to do now is I'm going to analyze the army. I'm going to see what we're missing here. So all of these, all of the research and costs, they're all going to be very high. I tend to build armies that are quite expensive because my strategy personally, this won't work for everybody, but my strategy personally is to try and out-resource the enemy. If I can collect more coal and generate more electricity, that means I can build more creatures. And in a very simplified understanding of the game, more creatures means better army, which means I can win. And the late game, being strong in the late game is huge for me, because the mid game and the beginning game, it's defending off the rush and then surviving to the late game. And if you're strong in the late game, that's like being strong in the end game in chess. It's a great way to win. So we have creatures 1 through 5 present in the army. That's very good. We have a flying creature, we have a horns, we have a ranged attack, we have an immune one. That's whatever one has the scorpion, I believe, is immune. And then you have digging, that's the ant. You have the barrier destroy on the scorpion. Keen sense or sonar pulse, that would be the whale. And then the cons: too many high-level creatures and no artillery units. This is kind of the too many high-level creatures. I will acknowledge that this is a high-level army and it's built for you to use it that way. As far as the artillery units complaint is, you can answer that if you want. You can put an artillery unit in this army, and were you to do so, I would recommend a low-level one. So I'm going to put one in here like the archer fish is good, and then maybe combine it with the armadillo or something, and just give it the archer fish head. But you see, you don't get much out of this water artillery. So the armadillo is probably not a good idea. How about the baboon? That might be okay. Yeah, so you could get something like this, where you get the pack hunter from the baboon, and you get the water artillery from the archerfish. So that would be a decent creature, and that would remove that complaint, I believe. So now it's just see look at all the pros, the whole screen of good things, and then just too many high-level creatures, whatever. So I think this is a good army. So I'm just going to call this the pilot's army. So we'll do that. So here's a great example of different varieties of creatures you can build. And I'd say my favorite out of all of these is probably the Croc Anther. So what I'd like to do in the next episode is we're going to go into player versus computer, and I'm going to put together a scenario for us, and we're going to battle against the computer opponent, and we're going to use this army we just built against an army that I've built previously, which is one of the ones that I like as well, and we'll see what we can do. Anyway, thanks for watching this army builder episode, and your final hint for who I think I sound like is that they produced a video probably about 9 months ago now with a very popular zebra, a dope zebra in it. I think I sound like them because I've been watching them too much. They're very good. You should check them out if you know what I'm talking about. You're probably already pretty cool. Thanks for watching. I'll see you guys next time.